a fibrous Shan Shandong Gaomi who rely on doing business for a living, often to and from Mongolia Yi area. One day walking in the rain halfway delayed, and so he went to the place I usually staying at the time. The night has been deep, he knocked over all the indoor, and no one answered. He had wandered under the eaves. Suddenly, a family of two doors open, out of an old man and asked him to go. Xi Shan pleased with him through the door, and his ass leash, walked into the main room, the house no beds and chairs. The old man said, I sympathize with guests nowhere to go, so I asked you to come live in, not selling food and drink sold at home, and no one, only his wife and daughter, have been asleep at home, although some surplus food, but not hot, and if you do not mind, eat a little left. Right, he then into his chambers. After a child, he took out a small stool. Sit on the floor please, Xi Shan, and go out to a coffee table. So coming and going back and forth a few times, the old man looked very tired. Shan Xi looked restless, took hold of the old man, let him take a break for a while. Soon, a girl pouring out of the mountain to back Xi. The old man looked at her, said, this is my home, a fiber up. Xi Shan looked fine. She saw a girl of 16 or 17, slim body, beautiful face, quite pleasant demeanor. Xi Shan has not married a younger brother, said his brother was thinking to myself on this marriage. So, he asked the old man's place of origin, family status. The old man replied, my name is Ancient. Mingjia Oshi imaginary sons died early, leaving only such a daughter. She just could not bear to be awakened from their sleep. Want my wife called her up. Xi Shan asked, who is the son home? The old man replied, not married. Xi Shan secretly pleased. After a child, both end up with food and wine, seems to be already ready for the whole thing. After dinner, Xi Shan going to respect for the old man said, meet by chance, courtesy of the elderly, so gracious and really make me never forget your view of Sidley. I dare to abruptly make a request. I have a younger brother, Saburo, year 17, is reading a book, not born stupid bad. I want you to climb on this marriage. You do not hold anything against me and rank it. The old man said happily, naturally, I am also able to take home here if my daughter entrusted to people like you. We ask you to take a house, so I move the family in the past, but also avoid future miss. Xi Shan keen on the idea, then got up and thanks. The old man graciously settled for his bed before leaving. When the chicken is called, the old man has got up, called Xi Shan wash up. Xi Shan packed luggage, give the old man the meal. The old man firmly declined, said just stay guests to eat a meal, absolutely no sense of money, not to mention we also became in-laws then. After the farewell, Xi mountain and stay out more than a month, before returning to, where more than a mile away from the village road, he met an old woman led a girl, both wearing clothes of mourning. Come near, he girl look like a fiber. Girls also frequently looking back at him, and took the old woman's skirt. His ear said something I do not know. The old woman then stopped the feet. The Xi Shan asked, you name it? Xi Shan repeatedly promised. Look miserable, old woman said. My old man collapsed wall to let the unfortunate crush to death. We are going to give him grave. No one at home now. Please wait a moment in the street. We'll be right back. Said finished. I went to the woods, and after an hour was out. At this time, it was late, it is dark on the road, Xi Hill and then they go hand in hand. The old woman talking about their widows and orphans, feel sad and cried. Xi Shan also feel a little sour. The old woman said this place is very humankind, widows and orphans, since it has been difficult to live. A fiber is your wife home, then I am afraid that will delay over time, as early as possible the night to go with you. Xi Shan agreed. After I get home, the old woman light a candle, such as Xi Shan meal, said to him, we expect you to come back too soon. The family stored grain most have been sold, leaving more than 20 stone. Because the road sent far from here 4 or 5 miles north of the village. The first door, a man named Erguin talk about is my buyers. Could you tirelessly, first with your horse ship to a pocket, Kayao men tell to old village just say there are a few stone grain, tolls to want to sell, and asked him to send animals to pack to go. Then, a pocket casual food to Xi Shan. She went to the mountains to catch a donkey, Kayao men. A man came out of the belly, Xi Shan explained the situation to him. The food will pour out on the first bag. Presently, there are 2 servants came rushing 5 mules. The old woman led Xi Shan came to a place to store grain, originally in a cellar. She footed the cellar, on behalf of the weighing. The old woman in charge of cross grain, fiber a sign is responsible for collection, and soon afterwards filled, let come to carry away, and from a total of 4 times, and only then shipped grain finish. 10 servant put money into the old woman. The old woman left a person, 2 mules, pack luggage east of departure, 20 miles away, revealing the dawn of genius. They came to a bazaar in the city, rented a head of cattle, and that makes the house servant talk back. Get home, put the Xi Shan tell their parents. A fiber parents saw it is like, let the old woman immediately say a liachu house day, and chose a good day to Saburo, a fiber married. The old woman also prepared a very rich dowry, a fine man of few words, rarely angry, someone to talk to her. She just smiled, her both day and night in the textile, wasted no time, therefore, the whole family up and down very fondly of her. A fiber Saburo asked you told uncle said when then through West Road, not to mention her mother and daughter. This went on for 3 or 4 years, she increasingly affluent family, Saburo also into the county school. Once, in the old neighborhood Shan Xi ancient house to spend the night, then accidentally comes nowhere to go, staying home to ancient things. The master said guest is a mistake to the east is an uncle of my house villa, 3 years ago, people who live there motionless seen some weird things, so waste has been empty for a long time. What the old man how old to leave you to stay? Xi Shan surprised, but not quite believe it. The owner said this hazy been empty, there have been 10 years, no one dared to go in one day behind's hazy wall fell. Uncle passed and saw the stones below like pressing a big giant cat rat tail sticking out, still shaking yet uncle hurried home and told a lot of people went to see together. The mouse was gone and they were all suspected that something was a monster. It took another 10 days, people went to look at, but of little movement. It took more than a year, people have to live in. Xi Shan heard more surprised. Returning home, he quietly talking about these things with the family. We all suspect that the new wife, not the person secretly worried for Saburo, but also Saburo a fiber as usual for loving me. Over time, the family have suspicions talk. A fiber gradually aware of, and in the evening for Saburo said, I married you for several years, has never done things a little beneath feminine virtue, and now does not even look at me as a person would ask you to give. I have a certificate of divorce. Let yourself look for a good wife. Then, I shed tears. Saburo said my peace of mind, you should already know since you of the door. My house growing richer, everyone thinks you good fortune to come into our home. How could someone say bad things about you yet? A fiber said you do not mind too. I do not know but have different opinions. Am afraid they will inevitably be abandoned. Saburo repeatedly comfort persuade a fiber calm down, but Xi Shan heart has always been fit, both to find the cat good at stressing the mouse every day to prime reaction a fiber, while not afraid, but furrowed eyebrows, unhappy. One night, his mother said Saburo a fiber of a little sick, and Saburo farewell going to serve her. After dawn, greeting Saburo went and saw the house has been empty. Saburo very frightened, sent around to find her trail, do not get a little message. Saburo heart edgy, eat not sleep. His father and brother all feel very fortunate, to turn to him and he continued to prepare for marriage, but Saburo very unhappy. Waited more than a year, if Fiber heard from his father and brother Saburo quick to mock scolding, a last resort. He spent lots of money to buy a concubine, but his thoughts on the Fiber has not been reduced. A few years later, Xi family poverty gradually go down, so everyone thought they were Arab Fiber. Saburo uncles had a brother named Xi Lan, because something happens to the Jiao's how detour en route to visit cousin terrestrial. At night, Xi Lan neighbor heard someone crying very sad, but not had time to find out. When he returned, he heard the cries, and asked the owner how it was. Lord answered and said a few years ago, a pair of orphans widowed mother, rented a house to stay here a month ago. The old lady died, leaving only the orphan, nor a family, so sad to cry. Xi Lan asked what she was called. The master replied, ancient surname of her family, often closed door, neighbors and do not, so I do not know her family background. Xi Lan surprised and said she is the sister-in-law. Yeah, so they went to knock on the door. Just listen to the house was wiping tears out, crashed through the door and said, what people in my house guessed is not this man. Xi Lan threw the door a look inside. It really is the sister-in-law, he said. The sister opened the door. I am the uncle of Afghanistan. Then the fiber listened, opened the door and asked him to come in, to tell his own lonely, sad looks very bleak. Xi Lan said, the third brother think you want a very bitter, even a little contradiction between husband and wife. Why should far fled here to do? Then, ready to car a fiber sub bands back together. A fiber sad to say, I look down on others because only mom in seclusion here and now defected back to the people who do not take the white, seeing if I had to go back and his brother have been to separate, otherwise, I will commit suicide. Xi Lan go back later to tell Saburo. Saburo night rush, couples meet, all sad to tears. The next day, he told the owners, Xi Jiansheng homeowners have long coveted a beautiful fiber, want to get him at concubines to do so for several years, do not collect rent, too old to be frequently hinted at, all was too old rejected, too old deaf, he was glad can get their hands on, but the sudden arrival of Saburo destroyed his conspiracy. He then calculated the years of rent, let a fine time to pay off, in order to make things difficult for them. Saburo wealthy family should not have heard a lot of money to pay the room, his face showing a very melancholy look. A fiber said might do. Then they let Saburo see food stored in the warehouse, about 30 stone, repayment of rent Jiao to spare. Saburo very happy, tells Xi Jiansheng. Xi Jiansheng not food, deliberately ask for money. A fiber sighed and said, this is my own mate's in-law. So they put Xi Jiansheng want to marry her concubine, things rejected, told Saburo. Saburo very angry, intends to complain to the county to go. Terrestrial stopped him, for him to give to the food warehouse of the villagers, gather together a sum of money to repay Xi Jiansheng, a car will Saburo a fiber home. Saburo told their parents and brother and then divided home. A fiber come up with their own money. Built granaries are busy every day, but it was a stone home with no food. We all feel very strange. After more than a year, go look and found the warehouse has been filled with food. Then, after a few years, the family is very wealthy, while Xi Shan family was very poor. A fiber will support elderly people to his house, to take the money and grain aid to Xi Shan home from time to time, gradually become accustomed to. Saburo said happily, you really can say is do not count Jiuwu people. A fiber replied, he is also for you this good brother, moreover, to be without him, where I had the opportunity to talk to Saburo Yao's known it. Since then, Saburo actually, home again. What a strange thing happened.